Hey guys, today I want to show you another cool tool I picked up last season. As I've said in a couple of my other videos, I like to race RC cars, radio control cars. I mostly race 1/10, 1/8 scale off-road buggies. You know, one of the things that's always intrigued me about this hobby is the level of technical engineering that goes into these, right? You know, as many of you know, I'm a retired Navy guy, and I recently retired from a career in aerospace engineering. So these kinds of tools and gadgets, they align really well to my personal curiosity as my interests. You know, and that being said, I'm kind of a hack of an RC driver. Most of the folks I race with have been doing this their entire lives, and they'll run circles around me on the track. But what I do get from this hobby is the satisfaction of seeing what's possible, you know, and being able to apply some of my skills and some of my life experiences and technical skills, engineering skills to these problems. So let's talk about one of them before we really get started in this review today. RC cars, just like full-size cars, depend on things like alignment and balance. Simple things like caster, camber, tow are all tunable features on a full-size race car and a full-size passenger car, and they all apply to these as well. And in many ways can be of even greater importance because these RC cars are scaled down by 800 to 1,000%. To make that even trickier, a lot of the feedback you get from a full-size car is lost when you're driving the scaled-down version of this, you know, from 50 to 100 to 150 foot away. So without the feedback, you rely really heavily on your initial setup to get the initial performance out of your car. You know, one of the areas that's subject to constant change in these cars is tires. You know, in carpet, turf, or even dirt racing, we change tires like most reasonable people. You know, they change their socks. Every surface we race on, every condition we're in, they offer specific challenges. One area I'll talk about today is balance. Every tire is essentially a rubber carcass that contains a foam filler. This foam filler is glued to a rim, to a plastic rim, with a bead of cyanoacrylic glue, super glue, or CA glue. Once these all get assembled, you got the same problem a full-size car would have. They need to be balanced. Remember the 800 to 1,000% scale down we talked about earlier, and the lack of feedback, and you'll start to imagine the effect even small imbalance can have in one of these off-road buggies. These are pretty simple tools out there that can help you with this. There's some more complicated ones, but all this is a scaled down version of what we already have in the full-size cars, and I'll show you some of those. The first tool I want to show you is a simple handheld balancer. It's quick, sort of accurate, pretty inexpensive. To use it, you just take your tire, you mount it onto the rim. In this case, it's a 1/10 scale tire. Looks like this. And all you really do is let the tire balance itself. So the tire will slowly slow down, and ideally it will settle on the low spot or the heavy spot. As the tire goes around, you'll see it's got one little bit of a heavy spot right in here. Okay, so you would add weight or something to the back of this that would counteract the offset in the balance. The same tool can be used on 8 scale tires. It's a pretty simple tool. You're really close, but again, we're talking about something that's been scaled down 800 to 1,000%, 1/8 to 1/10 scale. Even a small difference amplifies in a big way. So if I wanted to do the same thing with if I wanted to do the same thing with an 8 scale tire, simply reverse the tool, spin it around, lock it down, like so. This is a dirty tire, so it's probably going to be a little bit out of balance just for now. But anyways, if we spin the tire, you let it balance, it'll spin down, and it'll find a heavy spot, and the heavy spot will settle to the bottom. Okay, so you can keep doing this to repeat it. And if you get a repeatable heavy spot, you can let the tires settle, and then from the back side, apply a small amount of plumber's putty. I'll show you this in a second. And then try it again. So in this case, you can see the tire spinning a bit longer. Doesn't seem to have that low spot coming around like that. You can see it back up, so it's still got some problem with the balance of the tire. And I can take that same spot once it settles I'm going to add a little bit more. And when I add that counterweight, the tire will spin back down. And something like this, it works really well. But to get real precision, we need tools that mimic those that are used on real cars. And that's why you can get a dynamic. That's why we're going to use a dynamic spin balancer. The one I have here today is made by SkyRC, and it's just like the hand tool. I can balance both 1/10 and 1/8 scale tires and wheels. Let me show you. It's really cool. Okay, so the tool I've got today is a spin balancer made by SkyRC. It comes in a really cool box like this. It's carrying case. It's built well. It's a bit fragile, so you want to keep it in this case as often as possible. I'll get you some close-ups of this in a second. Okay, and much like the handheld balancer, the trick to this one is to take your tire. Remember, this is the tire I just balanced with the handheld balancer, so it should be pretty close, right? But if I take the same tire and I'll show you the front of this, here's the balancer. It's powered by 12 volts. We've all got field chargers. We've all got 12 volts out there. And we power this up. I'll picture the front of this in a second. You basically, I run it in automatic mode. You can do either you like, but it's selectable both 1/10 scale or 1/8 scale. You mount the tire, of course, mount the right way, obviously, onto the tool. It's got a hex lug that engages with the tire. Like most things, doesn't want to screw together. So you screw this guy down, and then hold down the start button. It'll tell you to mount the tire, and then it starts to check the balance. Remember, this is the tire we balanced a minute ago, so it should be pretty close, right? It'll bring it down to the light spot. But what it says, it needs 0.6 of a gram, which doesn't sound like much. I've already added quite a bit, as you can see over here, with my handheld balancer. But I've got a small scale here I can pull off. What's apparently a little bit less than, that's 1 full gram. 0.8 of a gram. 0.8. And this stuff I'm using here is electrical putty, electrician's putty. But you just basically need to get 0.8 of a gram of material down to 6. It takes forever. All right, 0.6 of a gram. Now if I mount that 0.6 of a gram in the low spot, the tire's got it, and I hit start again. And watch the tire balance and see how they come out. And it's balanced. So what you can see is when I used the hand balancer earlier, we added probably 4 or 5 grams to that, and it was pretty close. It slid down. As you can see, I've added quite a bit of putty to this tire. And this electrical putty is electrician's putty, really sticky, not terribly heavy, but really sticky. So when you put that inside the tire, as you can see in here, you can get a good balance. So like I said, it'll do 8 scale or 10 scale. These tires have been run a little bit, so let me go ahead and grab a tire that's brand new, never been on the dirt. We'll see how it checks out. So same type thing, insert the hex. Brand new tires, just a little tight. Insert the hex, lock the hub, spin this thing on, like that, and then give her a start. Run in automatic mode. Mount the tire, hit start, and off it goes. So this tire's 4/10 of a gram out of balance, right? So judging from my previous adventure trying to get the numbers right, I think this is probably exactly 4/10 of a gram. 2/10, yeah, look, half of 4/10. 4/10. So that little bit of imbalance, right? Now 4/10 of a gram, if you can imagine, in a 8 scale car is 800% more, right? So that's actually 3.2 grams of weight out of balance on a full-size car. So what I can do is I can put that in there, on the back side, rerun the balancing. It's like watching paint dry, right? And it's balanced. So, it's a pretty cool tool. Can you get away without it? Sure. But like I said, without the feedback that you normally would get in a full-size car, you're not going to know this tire is now, or was, out of balance. So, no feedback, tire's going to vibrate. As the tire's bouncing around out there at scale, 150 miles an hour, as it's bouncing around on the surface, when that heavy spot comes up, it lifts the tire, right? So you get an uneven traction all the time. So when the tire's really spun up, it starts to wobble, and you don't get a good firm contact or even contact on the racing surface. So it's a small tip. It's not a necessity to have this, but it is another small advantage. And every tire you get, you should, as you mount them up, you should balance them. You can do that with either a hand balancer like I did earlier, or you can invest in a more fun, more technical tool like the RC tire balancer from SkyRC. Yeah, and one last thing, guys. I really enjoy doing these videos. I hope they're being helpful for somebody out there. Now I've got more time on my hands. I like to review some of the tools that I've got. And if you like these kinds of videos, please let me know. Give me some feedback. Please leave a comment down below if you don't mind. Also, I'd appreciate the like and subscribe. Building a subscriber base is important on YouTube to get your videos out there and get them seen. Again, this is all fun. I really enjoy it. And if you've got any ideas or you want to comment on something, please let me know. I do appreciate it. Thanks. We'll see you next time.